wherever and whenever you're watching this show. My show on Sundays is called The Stories of Serendipity and Synchronicity. And I'm at a different place today because I'm dog sitting. It's the first time I've ever dog sat because I'm really not a dog person. And so the dogs are in a room with the door closed. So we'll hope that there is not dog interference, but I can't guarantee it. And so we're gonna roll with it. And if not, you might end up seeing two dogs in the video. And I'm really excited to have my guest on today, Reggie Waterman, who has already been on my show that's on Tuesdays for called On Being a First-Time Leader. Gave us great tips on just surviving being the first-time leader. And so now Reggie and I are going to talk about serendipity, synchronicity. To me, the awe and wonder of life. Like, why do things happen the way they happen? And then the resulting effect of that. And sometimes it's miraculous. Sometimes it's just indefinable. And I've always, ever since I was a kid, been so amazed at how life works, even how the body works. It's like, why am I able to do this? I just have so many questions, which is why I love having a show and having guests and asking questions. All right, Reggie, introduce yourself and tell us whatever you want to tell us to get started with the stories. And then I'll just interject every once in a while.
Cool. So Joan, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm super excited to be talking about just, synchronicities, just things, the law of attraction, the universe, the way it works, and how everything kind of just opens up to you if you are willing to take faith. You have a desire. All of us have desire in life to do something special. A lot of times we're held back by trying to achieve that, or just taking like the first step towards realizing our greatness. But I love the structure of your show because we could talk about all these magical things that happen through the course of our life. So just hi everyone, my name is Reggie Waterman. I'm a guy that just loves life. Let's get the casualties out the way, like in terms of, or the normalcy in terms of, okay, well, what do I do? Work 9 to 5 at a software company called 360 Insights. They're an amazing company, awesome culture. I'm a director of marketing there. Outside of the 9 to 5, I'm doing a bunch of passion projects, which I truly love, such as a workshop facilitator for universities and colleges, giving students the toolkit for them to succeed post-graduation. So talk about how to deal with a bad boss, how to network effectively, how to deal with politics and so forth. I also host a series of live shows called Discover Your Other, like one is called Discover Your Other Self. The other one is Cooking with Class. And the other one starts tomorrow, which is a monthly book club. So it's a virtual book club where we promote authors, elevate them so that they could showcase their masterpieces. But also I'm writing a book too, and it's based on Discover Your Other Self. And I'm just going super fast on this because I'm doing a lot of stuff. What else do I do? I'm also just gotten into acting and being in commercials. And I'm so happy to announce, Joan, that yesterday was my first gig. It was a still shot commercial in terms of photography. So being a model, it's like, wow, that's a story in itself, which we will get into. But
oh my gosh, because when I think of you, when I interrupt for a second, your face is like chiseled, like a Greek god or something. You have this.
Wow, geez.
Obviously, other people.
You're making this black man blush, and it doesn't like that's like impossible, but you just did it. Sorry, go ahead.
But I'm sure these other people see it too. So, gosh, do you ever sleep?
Eventually.
Okay.
Eventually.
But I interrupted you. Go ahead with your story.
So no, it's okay. There's that. What else am I doing? Geez. I'm working on a platform right now. That's a secret project in itself to help revolutionize the job application experience. But I will unveil that when time is when it's time. Just
Kenny is chiming in.
KDJ is in the virtual building.
Yeah. And then you have puppy, a dog? I'm not sure if it's a puppy.
Yeah. So speaking of dogs, I know your dog's sitting, and listen, I would love to leverage your services because it's been a task and a half trying to manage this guy.
Well,
Oh, also,
you pay my flight to Toronto and from San Diego, and I'll watch your dog.
I think it will be worth it. I think
Okay.
you have a way with
Exactly.
these animals. I feel like you could
Mhm.
tame them and help
Mhm.
them. Just you'll correct their behaviors, I feel. Katie J saying we blacks blush too.
It's funny because before the show, I was putting on a little makeup, and I was going to say, "Is it appropriate to ask um, my guests if they have, well, especially men, do you put makeup on? Because you always look so good on the camera."
Just a little bit of foundation.
Okay, good.
We don't go overboard.
Tinted foundation is my
Yeah.
friend.
I was thinking about doing some contouring, but I was like, no, that's a little too much.
You don't need to because you're chiseled. What is the product, and when can we see this picture of you? Or is that separate?
That's a secret for now.
Okay.
Secret
And then, am I correct that you have a child?
2.
2. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was thinking of somebody else. Okay.
And I don't even think it's well, one I could definitely call a child. The second one, I don't even think I could call him a child anymore because he just turned 18 this month.
Oh my gosh. You look so young to have an 18-year-old. Yeah.
I'm just trying to work on my Benjamin Button, Joan. That's all we're trying to do out
Oh
here.
my God, that's what I call myself, Benjamin Button. I do. Yeah, because my kids are 33 and 36.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. Yeah. They're fully grown.
And Kenny says I don't need any damn makeup.
Exactly. Beautiful, beautiful as is. Beautiful as is.
Thanks. So again, I interrupted you. I think you were telling us about, let's say you have commercial, you have a platform you're working on, you sleep when it's absolutely necessary. You basically have 2 grown children. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a campaign that I'm running I'm proud of right now. It's called Defining Moments. And this is where I'm encouraging people just to share their stories about, what was their defining moment that changed their life for the better. So they'll tell that like within a 3-minute time frame, and I'll post it on LinkedIn once a week. But it's about encouraging people to tell their story because at the end of the day, those stories could change somebody else's lives. For example, like everything that you're doing right now with your show, you're bringing guests on, having them share their stories. The people that are tuning in are going to either be inspired to not only share their story, but also understand that they're not alone, right?
Exactly. And then what I like about my story, my show, and when you're saying defining moments, it helps because one of the things about synchronicity and serendipity is that you have to train yourself to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to train yourself to approach life as a child. And I have my first grandson. He just turned 7 months.
Oh,
And
wow.
my first
Congrats.
granddaughter or grandson. And
Congratulations.
thank you. It's amazing. My girlfriends used to hold up their phones and show me their grandkids and go, "Wait till you get one of these." And I was like, "Mom, my daughter said she's never having kids, and now she has a child." And it's just amazing to watch him find his hands
Mm-hmm.
and find when I touch my leg. I did that. It's amazing. So to approach life with open eyes, and you kind of said, you mentioned. I don't know if you said The Secret or The Law of Attraction. So yeah.
Yes.
So the more you're open to it, the more you say it. Continue.
Exactly. You said it all. You said it all.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. That's what I'm doing right now.
All right. So do you want to start us off with one of your stories?
Sure. So let me start off with this. It's in terms of synchronicities, all the stuff that I just rhymed off in terms of what I'm doing, and this is kind of going to set the stage for the story. If you think about all the different projects I just mentioned, the campaigns, the projects, I would say before 2019, And I always say that and I've said this like a million times. I feel like I've said it a million times. 2019 was my version of COVID-19. And I feel like I'm very spiritual. So it's like God was setting me up in preparation for this very moment, where you need to take a personal pause, hit rock bottom for a little bit, figure out what you are capable of doing, build a better connection with me. When I say better connection with me, is building a better connection with spirit, so that you could truly discover your other self, which is why, hence the name of my show. The reason why I start with that is because prior to 2019, I wasn't doing anything close to what I'm doing today.
Really?
Just
Wow.
going through the ebbs and flows of life, going through the motions, if you will. I thought, I was working in the telecom space for 12 years, and that was it. Like, I had my just blinders set on climbing that corporate ladder within that industry.
And life is
Anything,
good. Life is
yeah,
good.
life was good.
Yeah.
It's comfortable.
I got money in the bank. I got
Money in the bank.
Yeah.
Going to work every morning,
Yeah.
coming home, same routine.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing the daily commute. So my daily commutes in my previous stint was like 3 hours round trip, right? So an hour and a half each way. But that was life. That was okay. I got to do that. That's expected of me.
Yeah.
This is what everybody else is doing. So I'm doing something right if everybody else is doing this, right? So it wasn't until 2019 where I decided to make a move for myself and put myself first in terms of where I want to go within my career. I felt like I was hitting a ceiling with this one particular company in the telco space. Decided to leave for the competition, and I didn't do it in a tasteful manner. Reflecting back on it, I could have handled it a lot better. I burned a bridge, and as a result of burning that bridge, it actually impacted my ability to take on this new job at the competition, which I won't get into any details because that doesn't even matter anymore. What matters is what resulted in the fact of that occurrence. So what I mean by that is, because it didn't work out with the competition, it left me jobless for the first time ever in my career. And in my 15 years of doing marketing, I was always, studious, took pride in my ability to grow and strive to get promoted and so forth, and move up that ladder. But because I always felt that that was my only space, hitting rock bottom for me was the eye opener that I needed to realize what else was out there in this world. And it's like every time I tried to get back into that industry, it's like God said, no, we're removing you. Like, you're pushed out. And Joan, you have to understand that even during those time periods when I was in that industry, there's many a times where my spirit was kind of felt like I was in a box the whole time. I always wanted to create more. I felt like I was destined to do more, but I was like just in my confined space. But then God and the universe just said, no, you're going to do something else, which I didn't know at the time when I got the news that my employment status was null and void. And that's all I knew. So it was a shock to the system. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay these bills? I got 2 kids. And I got financial obligations because they don't live with me. I got to pay child support. How am I going to satisfy my mortgage? How am I going to pay the child support? How am I going to pay for the food? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Life is over. Oh my God, it's over. It's over. Right. And, the synchronicities that happen during that time. So I was unemployed for about 6 months. But during that time period, that's when the self-discovery kicked in terms of me identifying what I was good at, what were my superpowers, what were my unique talents, people I just connected with. Like, for example, trying to apply for more, another job to get back on my feet. Well, I went through a recruiter, and the recruiter, I always say this, through the beaten path, Joan, is that we all have spiritual guides, people that come in and out of your life for different reasons, but it's to teach you something. You learn something
Mm-hmm.
experience. And this one recruiter pretty much just handed my ass to me because she ripped up my resume in terms of like red marked it in terms of this is wrong, that's wrong, you got to change this up, that. It was really tough with me. At that point in time, like, I'm already beaten up. Like, I don't have a job right now. And you're just like pretty much shitting on my resume.
Totally. Don't kick me when I'm down.
Right. But she really helped perfect the resume. The resume, as we know, is just a ticket. It's a passport. It's a barrier. It's a point of entry to have the conversation with somebody that's offering you an opportunity to work with them. And she pretty much gave me a really nice, concise resume that was appealing to prospective hiring managers. Now, did I know at the time? No, but going through those bumps and bruises, I was like, okay, this is going to open up so many doors. I eventually, got the wheels in motion, started having, interviews through that time period. I'm getting rejected left, right, and center. And, it's deflating because, okay, well, am I ever going to get the salary that I was going to get at this new
Mm-hmm.
company, the same type of position, the same growth
Mm-hmm.
opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
But then my mom was she was a good support system. A couple of my friends too. My mom would always send me like Bible verses and I would read that. But as I started to build that connection with spirit and God, things started to fall into place. The synchronicities that happened was, as I got in touch with my spirit, as I listened to like the Les Browns, the Joel Osteens on YouTube, and to lift up just my own vibration, things started to fall into place. Interviews got better. The resume that person helped me construct was now a powerful tool, along with identifying what I'm really good at and articulating it in a manner that would
Mm-hmm.
really resonate with the person on the other side of the table. I remember I remember I broke my hand playing basketball through this whole process too. So I would go into
Oh, your
interviews.
writing hand?
Yeah, no, actually, it was my left hand, thank God. But going to interviews and having to try to like put your arm through the blazer with this cast, and having to retell the story of how you broke your arm in every interview. So it's just like when it rains, it pours. I remember also bumping into old tenant of mine at a Walmart, and it was funny because it was one of those moments where we parked right beside each other. This is a synchronicity type of moment, and I haven't seen her in like in years. And I parked. She parked right beside me, and I looked over. I'm like, oh no! This is one of those moments where you're just like you don't feel like talking. Let's call it
I
spade.
hope they don't see me. I hope they don't
Yeah, I
see
hope they don't see me. So I'm like, let me let her go in first. She goes in, and I follow suit after. Like I let like 5 minutes go by. So now I got my shopping cart with my cast, and I'm trying to do my thing. And I got my shopping cart, putting some items in the cart as I go, and then all of a sudden I hear, "Hey Reggie, is that you?" out loud. I'm like, oh. That internal,
Mhm.
I turn around like, oh, hey. And you got to pretend like you didn't know. Oh, hey, Kara.
Mhm.
Yeah, how you doing?
Mhm.
She's like, oh, I'm good. We're just catching up. She goes, what happened to your arm? Explain that. And what are you up to? I got to explain that now too. And I don't really want to. Like, yeah, I'm out of work right now. She goes, hey, would you want to like grab a coffee someday? I'm like, yeah, why not? I got time on my hands, obviously. So the following week, we actually met up for coffee. And this is a moment that actually changed, that really was like an awakening for me. During the coffee, she talked about Tony Robbins, and she goes, have you ever listened to Tony Robbins and stuff? I'm like, Yeah, I heard of him. I haven't really taken in any of his material. And she said, why don't you just come to like Dallas? Like I'm gonna go to like one of his conferences. And at that moment, Joan, something just said, just say yes. And even though I was unemployed, realistically, I was like, dude, don't do this because you're spending money that you should be saving.
Yeah, it's
And
not
something
cheap.
told me
Yeah.
it's not cheap, but
Mhm.
and it wasn't in my. It was, like, I'm from Canada. I'm living in Canada, and it was in Dallas, so got to pay for flight.
Well, let me rephrase it, because I have never been to one of his seminars, but I imagine that what you got out of it, that might be later in your story, uh, outweighs the price. Like it's invaluable. Like you couldn't actually put a price. Some things like that, when you learn something, you can't actually put a price on it. So I feel a little bad that I said it's not cheap. So continue.
No, it's okay, but like I think at the end of the day, the way that I eventually looked at it was I got to invest in myself. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And all these things started to happen. That was like March of that year, and then the trip to Dallas was going to happen in July. But then more stuff happened throughout that process. Where remember, I still had my broken arm, still going on these interviews. I don't have a job yet. I started. I love CrossFit, but I really couldn't do a whole lot of CrossFit because of my arm. And they have something called like the annual CrossFit Games. I'm like, I can't participate in this, so I'm just gonna go running instead to keep fit. And what would happen is I would go on my runs, and a friend of mine also introduced me to David Goggins, and he had like this audio book called "You Can't Hurt Me." And David Goggins, and if you don't know of him,
Wow.
look him up. He's like an ex-Navy SEAL. He talks about building up a callous mind so that anything
Wow.
externally will not impact your internal. So you just
Huh.
let it bounce off of you and just focus on what you need to do. Use your internal grit to go after what you want.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting because
So
yeah, I got a lot of yeah, go ahead.
no, but like, and the funny thing is when I go on these runs, I would listen to his audiobook and I would go, I'd run. And I used to hate running, but I'm like, now I'm just like getting into the habit and now I love it. But
Mhm.
during that time, what would happen is I would actually go on my runs and then I would see this three-legged dog out of the blue. And I'm like, okay, you don't see a three-legged dog every day. And here I am. So it dawned on me. I'm like, if this dog that's walking this path with three legs, one leg missing, why can't I participate in this CrossFit games, right? Because I could still do it with one arm, right? But so that was like the punch in the gut to say like, Reggie, like, man up, like, come on, let's go, like, stop this, like, doesn't matter if you feel some sort of a sense of despair because you don't have two hands to use the working one. So I decided to participate in the CrossFit games, push
Wow.
myself, and
So
that helped me.
when you say CrossFit Games, it's a competition?
It's a competition, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a competition. So I'll go into CrossFit, I would lift like the bars with one hand. I would just do a whole bunch of exercises and workouts. And then I remember, obviously I didn't place very high, but I remember getting like some sort of recognition from my gym because they're like, wow, you still, even with a broken hand, you still managed
Mhm,
to push
mhm,
through.
mhm.
But that also translated into everything else in my life. Regardless of what happens to you, figure out how to push through.
Right.
And I used that dog. And I remember eventually I saw the dog again. I took a picture of him because I'm like, this dog was such an inspiration to me because he helped me realize that, you should never give up when the cards are stacked against you. Just keep going, keep moving.
Mhm.
So from March to July, and this is going back to the Tony Robbins, all these things started to happen. Just before I left to go to Tony Robbins, all of a sudden, when it rains, it pours, right? When you're looking for jobs, a lot of times, and this happens to me a lot, I'll get multiple offers.
Right.
multiple.
Right. I find the same with relationships. When you finally say, okay, I'm going to start dating again or whatever, and all of a sudden, yeah.
Same thing. Same exact
Yeah,
thing.
so I was thinking about this woman, Kara. She hasn't seen you in a while, and now she's asking you to go away for a weekend with her. So she's a pretty quick mover. She's a pretty fast mover.
Oh, Kara, she doesn't. Nothing stops her. She just goes. Like she's like a coach, just pushes you, right? But the offers came. I had decisions to make. I remember at one point I had to make a decision between taking one offer out of two that I got. One was to actually go back into the industry that I would be super comfortable with, which is the telco industry. The other one was something totally out of the box that I would never expect to do. But I decided to take the one that was outside of my norm, because now I've built this callous mind, trying new things, building new muscle. Let's try it out for a bit. I think it's going to be a stepping stone to something else. I decide to say yes. And then within, I would say, I remember I also said to the employer, I said, I want to go away before I start. I want to go take a trip, but it's a random trip. These are all things that I'm just like, I got to do things now. And I want to take a random trip to Dominican Republic. And just before I left, it was like the day before, because I was still doing other interviews prior to, obviously, during that phase of, being unemployed. And then the day before I left the Dominican, the employer that I'm working at right now called me and said, hey, we have a job offer for you. And I'm like, well,
because you already accepted the other one.
I've already accepted the other one. Like I said, there's another job offer that I have right now. But you know what? I'm going to Dominican. Let's send me the offer, and then I'll make myself accessible while I'm in Dominican. So in the Dominican now, I am negotiating my salary, right? In my hotel room.
In the modern world, right?
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Boom. They're like, okay, well, we met on a number and other variables, and we're like, all right, cool, let's do this. Mind you, I remember I already accepted the other offer. The thing is, they had to do background checks. And even though I was like I knew myself I was going to be in the clear, but because of what happened when I left remember the previous employer?
Yeah.
I was like, let me just make sure. I'm like, let me make sure, because I don't want to be in this situation again. So what happened is that it took them a while to do the background check. So I had to report into the other employers, like in their building, to go there.
You started.
To start. So I'm there, taking notes, doing what I can do. But in my head, I'm like, I'm waiting on the official. Okay, boom, let's go. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got it. And then I had to tell them, hey, sorry, another offer came up that I was waiting for, and it's super close to home. This is 12 minutes away from my house. This is what I always wanted. Right? Always wanted. And we both, the employer and I, said, okay, well, we'll pretend like this never even happened. I'm like, perfect. That's good. That's all I could ask for. So then I took the job at 360 Insights, and it's been great ever since. So when I took that job, and that was in June, I then went to the Tony Robbins conference in July. And then I'm like, and I already told them, like, I already have this event booked. Can I go? They're like, yeah, for sure.
Is it like a weekend or week long, or?
It was like 4 days, 5 nights. Sorry, okay. 4 nights, 5 days.
Okay.
So there was this on one of the days, it was called Transformation Day. That was the day, and this is at the Tony Robbins conference, that really changed my life and really woke me up, is when he goes through deep meditation with everybody, and this is like 8,000 people strong. He closes the lights, he goes through this meditation, and he takes you through a sequences of just events for everybody. Think about all your hurts, your
Mm. Mhm.
all the pain, right?
Mhm.
And he would say, just think about that for a moment. Think about carrying that pain, that hurt 5 years with you, the baggage, right?
Mm.
Think about it 10 years from now. Think about like
Mhm.
the pain getting stronger, and all you would hear is all these people screaming out loud, like, "Oh my God, like, oh my God," because they're letting it go. Like he's like, just you gotta release it. And I started screaming out loud too, because I'm like, let me get this thing out. And it was like amazing. You felt like a whole like a ton of weight was just lifted off your shoulders. So it was through that experience, along with the precursor experiences, that built me up for all the things that I'm doing now. So now that I let all that baggage go, Joan, I can now do all these things that I said I'm doing right now in this current day and time.
Mhm.
Before, I would not be on a live with you. I would not be doing my live shows. I would just be, prior to COVID, just doing that. Ding, ding, ding. Let's go to work
Mhm.
every single day.
Groundhog Day, I call it
That's
sometimes.
it.
Yeah.
And now I'm helping. Now I'm in schools teaching kids how to like succeed, telling them to be unapologetic of who they are, and as well as not even just students, just people in general,
Mhm.
through the content that I put out there. And it's just been an amazing experience. And that's all a lot of the synchronicities that I'm
Mhm.
super happy for, because if it wasn't for
Mhm.
that, I would just be going through the motions of life, and that's just not. It's not fun. Not fun at all.
There's just so many turning points in
Oh
the
yeah.
story. In the story. So, what I wanted to ask about is if we go back to, well, I want to make sure that you're complete. Like a story, I always say, where does a story begin? Where does it end? It doesn't really. It
Exactly.
just
It's still being written. This is just
exactly. So, but if you went back to your darkest time, and a lot of people are in that time right now, what would you say, like, um, to the Reggie at that time when you're like, oh my God, I guess I'm going to have to eat Domino's pizza for the rest of my life. Like, or what's the one that's really, really cheap? Pizza, Little Caesars. Do you have Little Caesars
we
in?
have we have Little Caesars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like $5 for a pizza.
$5. Yep, yep.
Yeah. So, how did you keep going during that time?
It was work.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So when people say, "Oh yeah, you got to do the work," work. But what is the work?
Mhm.
The work is, for me, it was daily affirmations. It was investing in myself through, example, the Tony Robbins conference. It was listening to motivational speeches every single day, meditating. It was writing down stuff like constantly. I remember one of my walls in my bedroom was covered in post-it notes, and it felt like I was like a detective trying to solve a crime case, because
Oh, that's a
here I
great
am trying to
analogy.
figure out my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
remember I put like a lot of like my goals at the top, and then on the underneath each goal was various steps that I needed to take in order to hit that goal. And
Mhm.
every time I, took one step, I would rip it off, because I'm like, it's getting me one step closer to the goals that I need to make for
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
But that's the work. It's doing things that you're not comfortable with doing, like taking cold showers. That became a habit of mine too, because it's like the fight or flight triggers kick in, and you're like, okay, I'm going to fight through this. It was the prayer, it was the connecting with God, it was the networking, building relationships.
Mhm.
That's the work. People could say the problem with today's society, John, I'll tell you straight up, the real problem is that people just do too much of this and not enough of actually executing.
Uh-huh.
That's the problem. People could talk all day, every day. People could be on Clubhouse freaking 5 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
But what are you doing? What's the
Uh-huh.
work that's being done?
What action is as it is resulting from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I always tell I love, I don't know if you've ever read anything by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, he's a Canadian too. I've there's something
Oh,
called Pull the Goalie?
I don't know if I knew he was a Canadian.
He's Canadian,
Um,
yeah.
no, I just know Blank, Outliers.
Mm.
They're the ones that I have read. He's written a bunch, but
Yeah.
you know, on the Outliers, he talks about serendipity and synchronicity. That Steve Jobs went to a high school where they had a computer, and no high schools had computers at that time. So he had access to a computer. And the Beatles had to play at raunchy places, but for a long time together. They had to play 8-hour gigs. So they were able to hone their skill. So I tell my clients and people that I work with that sometimes people seem like an overnight success. Like I could look at you and go, wow. In fact, I do look at you and go, man, I hope when I grow up, I can be like Reggie. And but what people don't know is that there's all this work, blood, sweat, literally blood, sweat, and tears behind it. And so I love that. I also really like the analogy of your hand was broken and the three-legged dog. Like you basically were three-legged at the time, you know. And I just thought, and so there is God, or if you want to call it the universe, I say God is putting this dog in front of you. He's putting the dog in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Right? But only a few, or maybe only you, are going, huh? Right? So you're
It's so
training
true.
because you have your mind in spirituality and open to listening. Your mom is sending you the Bible quotes, and you're, instead of just going, oh God, mom, will you quit with the God stuff? You're looking at them, you're reading it, letting it sink in, and then the dog appears. And then this is what I really don't understand about how things happen in life. So you go to Walmart, you could have gone 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes later. You could have gone to Target. You could have parked in a different place. And then you purposefully tried not to see her. Like the world is conspiring for our good. And like, how can that happen? How can that happen? Walmarts are big places. You could go in Walmart and probably know people and never see them.
There's a lot of real estate in the Walmart, a lot of square footage.
Yep. When you talk to your friend or something, say, oh, I went to Walmart. I was there too. What time? Oh, I was there, but you never ran into each other.
Yep.
That is crazy. It's just unexplainable. And it gives me a lot of hope. So I get discouraged with lots of things in the world, not only now, but always. And I go back to my safe place of like, God is good. God is going to fix this. God is, I'm not going to understand everything, but to just get to put one foot in front of the other instead of watching the news or what, like you're saying, going on, I was going to say TikTok, Clubhouse, and just, which you can go on TikTok for hours and hours and hours. To what end? And to what benefit are your gifts being utilized? So I've been given these gifts. It's my opportunity. It's not my opportunity. It's my obligation to go back to a Bible quote. You know, don't put your light under a bushel. Let it shine in the room. So Elizabeth has a question and a comment, but before we get there, so the recruiter, she took your resume and then did she make it neutral?
No, she just helped me amplify some of my accomplishments so they stood out. Which, you know, to the prospect hiring manager would be, a kind of a standout item, would build a
Okay.
sense of intrigue.
Yeah, because when you said it, you said that's all I've ever known was telecom. And I used to help people with resumes, and I had a woman that say to me, all I've ever been is a bartender. Like, are you kidding me? Right? How many talents you have to know, how many skills and talents you have to know to be a bartender. So we're going to emphasize those, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Elizabeth, let's see. She is saying, what made you pick helping students? And we haven't spoken about it yet, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is great. She's she's been engaging with a lot of my posts, attending a lot of the live shows that I put on. So I appreciate you, Liz, for showing up today.
And she
Asking
and I,
thoughtful
she and
questions.
I, oh, sorry, I'm talking
No, no,
over
go
you.
ahead, go ahead,
She
go
and
ahead.
I met serendipitously through LinkedIn.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
So students, why did I pick students? That's a good question. So when I was, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life because I was, out of a job, I used to think about, and I remember having this conversation with my mom too, because she was a big proponent in this as well. But with students, I remember obviously a point in time when I was a student and transitioning into the workplace wasn't easy. But then I
Mm-mm.
also remember when I was when I was managing people and students in particular that came and just freshly new from school into the workforce, they were still struggling with a lot of things that I struggled with
Mm-hmm.
when I was a student. So I was like, okay, well, there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if there's still a disconnect to this day, and the schools haven't figured it out from the time that I graduated till present, then that means that means there's a gap in terms of how they help to prepare the students for their leap into the real world. And I honed in on that as an opportunity to say, okay, well, Reggie, you've gone through so many life experiences, especially with your career, and we talk about work. I put in the work. There's two things. You could have a strategic mind. You could also know how to educate. I'm sorry, not how to educate. You know how to execute.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, so there's two traits I embody. I encompass both traits. Some people will just have one strategic mind, and the other people will have one person will have execution. I have both. So that means
Wow.
I have the ability to not only think strategically, but actually live out my vision and put it into place. So now I'm like, okay, well, take those experiences, package it up, and add value to the universities to say, hey, let's have you guys decided on how you're going to help students transition? And I would go over the overview of my program. They'd be like, actually, we don't really have anything like this. I know you don't. So they're like, oh wow, you've uncovered something niche here. I'm like, thank you. So let's close the gap on that. Let's work together. Let's complement everything that you're doing to help the students. And the reason why I help the students as well, Elizabeth, is because they are going to be the future leaders of tomorrow. They are going to have tremendous impact on the way we do things, the way we govern things, the way policies are written and executed. So why not invest in them? Why not harvest them and say, okay, well, they're going to go through a life cycle from student to briefcase, and then they're going to make impact. But then how do you solidify and carry on a cycle? You do it through the students, because eventually when they get older, you hope, and you could just do it through hope and faith, that if they go down this journey with me, they're now going to be able to pay it forward. Because what I do in these programs is hone in on the importance of paying it forward, servicing others, because it just fills up your cup. So that cycle will
Mm-hmm.
continue. So they'll continue to
Mm-hmm.
be mentors and mentor the younger people, and the cycle will continue over and over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you leave a legacy? I'm leaving it through the experiences I have with people that I connect with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. Let's see here. Elizabeth says, doing the work, not a lot of people think of it as the work, daily meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, Elizabeth. Like, I've done a couple Deepak Chopra's. He and Oprah have joined up, and now this was years ago. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do this 21-day meditation challenge, and I've started it several times. I actually completed it one time, and I don't know how to explain it, but changes were happening, and all I was doing was setting aside some time to meditate. So, yeah, it's crazy, but it is. I understand what you're saying, Elizabeth. It is the work part. You know, taking time to meditate is a part of the work, and people don't think of it like that because it's kind of doing nothing. So how can I be doing the work when I'm doing nothing? And they don't understand about calming the mind and how that affects, I'm not a scientist, but all the neurons, all the chemicals, the blood flow, everything inside you. Yeah. Kenny says he tried a cold shower once and he says never again. The world is conspiring for good. Elizabeth, I wish I could tell you that was mine, but I feel like someone famous says that. So I feel like I stole that from somebody, but I like it too. If you look for it, This is great. Living strategically in execution. I'm so glad you solved the problem, and I agree they are the future. Did they ask for your qualifications to teach, etc.? This is so inspiring. Yeah, I could see you doing that, Elizabeth. I really could. Yeah. So besides you going there and, well, you developed, so putting in the work, you developed the program. You must have done some sort of research.
No.
You just were like, and how did you pick the college? This college, I'm going to go there. I have this idea. And
so legit, Elizabeth, like I would go. So, and even Joan, like your question, how did I pick the college? Well, I went on LinkedIn and I just randomly would hit up people in the career services at colleges that are, you know, like the University of Toronto, Ryerson. And it was just like going fishing to see who would interact with me. I had no plan. I just went in. So remember the execution, just execute, throw it out there, see who responds. And I would just keep it moving from there. But my ability to connect with people and show them the vision, that's part of my superpower as well. But in terms of qualifications, no, I didn't have any qualifications. Only qualifications I had was life experiences, me bringing my life experiences to the table to resonate with the students. And the funny thing is, so I'm doing another 6-week workshop with the University of Toronto. We started last week. I just got word this past week that so the career services department themselves, whenever they put on workshops, they have not seen the numbers of students attend their events like they have attended my event.
That is awesome.
Right? But it goes to, and the feedback that I get even from the students themselves is because they're like, he's coming in just being himself. He's not just a talking head that's like, okay, to build a proper resume, you need to make sure to have your objective at the top, your key qualifications, and that's it. You got to wear a shirt and tie whenever you go into the interview process. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about to be you, the realist you that you know, and how to build that story that makes people connect with you.
And so it sounds like, to me, you have the potential to be hiring people soon.
That's the goal one day.
You know, it has the potential to spread, but you're one person. So the first person you hire might be Elizabeth. She's She's
Might
looking to
be.
pay.
Well, okay. Well, here's the funny thing. Here's a quick synchronicity type of moment in regards to this program. So I remember I did a workshop for a university in Toronto called Ryerson University, and it was like
And
one of
that's
my
where you
first.
attended, right?
That's where I attended,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, and this was what, last year, and I was on a high from it. I was like, yes, I did it. This workshop was amazing. The students loved it. I'm like, and I remember being on this high, and then something came to my mind, and I said to and where it was a fellow by the name of Marcello Arcele, he frequents LinkedIn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
him and I have built a relationship on LinkedIn, and I remember he always wanted me to be on his show and come on his it was called Cocktails with Cello. And then I remember right after I came off that workshop, I said to him, "Man, you're doing that show tonight, aren't you?" He said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Okay, I want to be on it. I want to be on it. I want to be on it." I don't know, just this notion of just asking to be on the show.
Capitalize, yeah.
So then he goes, "Yeah, for sure, you could come on." He goes, "Okay." I said, "Okay, cool. So what are you guys talking about?" "Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about languages, interpretation, and interpreters." I'm like, I'm not an interpreter. I don't know anything about like languages. I just know English. He goes, "Ah, just come on, you'll be fine." But that same day, Joan, I remember I got whispers, and these whispers to me is like God talking to me, and it said
Definitely.
like, "Go global." So I oblige and I go on his show, and here I am going to be on the show with two interpreters. Don't know what I'm going to talk about because I'm like, this is not my space. So I'm listening to these people, taking it all in. And then they asked me, "Yeah, so what are you doing with your life right now?" I said, I talked about the program that I do with the students. And then the interpreter girl, her name is Janika. She goes, "Wow, this program is amazing. Like, this sounds very fascinating." She goes, "Let's connect." So lo and behold, we connect. Ever since then, like from that time, she goes, "I love your program. I want to help you by interpreting like translating your material into different languages." So I was like, "Oh, that's the message. It was to go global."
Wow.
So then she put me in touch with a private university, which I'm still having conversations with now to this day, in the Caribbean and in Africa, to bring my program to them.
You're definitely going to need employees. Elizabeth is from Africa. I'm not sure what her language is that she speaks, and I forget what country. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I know it's not Nigeria. But it's interesting. What comes to mind to me is that you are doing a type of interpretation. You're not interpreting language, but you're interpreting
Say it.
the
Say it.
chasm
Mhm.
of okay, so the students are here, they want to get here, and here's the chasm. Like you're interpreting how to get. Some of them are going to be able to jump over. Some of them might have to go down, see what's down there, and come back up. There's all different ways of. So I right away when you said I'm not an interpreter, I'm like, well, yeah, you're interpreting. What I can't even imagine what my life would be like if I had you
Mhm.
when I went to 2 years in Philly and I finished up at San Diego State. So at any point, 20, 22, even 24, if I had anyone telling me this is
Here's the formula.
yeah.
So it's funny, like you see what you did there. Right? And you talked about the chasm. You want to hear the funny thing is, and this is a synchronicity This is a synchronized moment, let's just say,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
in real time.
Right, right.
I actually have a slide, which is for my first module, that has these arrows that go like this and this, me in the middle, and then I have the Google Translate logo pop up because I am in between the students and the older generation. So I understand what the older generation wants and what they expect. And I
Uh-huh.
translate that for the students so that they could apply that to how they work and they function so that we create harmony. Boom.
That's synchronicity for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And when I tell the clients that I work with, I say, you know, sometimes I have these thoughts that are kind of like out of the ballpark. They're kind of weird. You know, is it okay if when one of them comes up, can I express it to you? And they usually say, sure. And I say, okay. Then during the session or sessions later, I'll say, you know, I'm having kind of a weird, do you mind if I share this with you? And so I told this one lady, I see you in front of a huge crowd, like Tony Robbins, thousands of people. And she just was like, oh my God. She goes, she went to see a spiritual counselor, and the counselor said the same exact words to her.
Oh, yeah.
So I basically feel that I'm just a conduit. Like
Yes,
God,
that's the thing. We're all conduits, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let me go to some of these that I haven't highlighted. Bernard, back when we were talking about shot in the dark and execute, you know, that you were just like, Chris, next one, next one, next one. You know, you just kept resilience.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't give up. I have a hard time with the execution part. Right now, I'm in a little bit of a slump with the execution part. Talent to strategize, talent to execute. Yeah, like for you to have both of them, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yep. And then Elizabeth is just reminding me that she's from Kenya. So
Kenya.
I don't know if that's the country what country is the university?
It was Cameroon.
Okay, Cameroon. And things in life happen when they're supposed to. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Things happen in life when they're supposed to.
I totally agree with Bernard. Everything in due season, everything in due time. You know, we all have to practice patience. Sometimes I get anxious about it. I'm like, man, I want to go, 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 go. But then I got to realize that, yeah, I have to practice patience. And then when it eventually happens, you actually appreciate it some more, depending on, you know, what they call it, delayed gratification. And you're like, okay, there's a reason why I had to wait this long for things to happen. And now I appreciate it even more. And it's about enjoying that process, right? Nobody likes the things that we've talked about today in terms of the themes of work, execution, patience. Nobody likes those three things. Like let's call a spade these days. Nobody likes these things, but you got to do these things in order for things to work.
And nobody likes someone to take their resume, especially with a red pen. Who is this woman? We're taught never to use a red pen, because it reminds people of grade school and stuff. But no one wants their resume cut up and ripped apart. And then it reminded me of humility. That you have humility to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to try it a different way.
Oh,
and you took
H word. That H word. That H word is so underrated.
Totally.
Oh man, humility.
People think it's that humility is humiliation, and I'm like, no. So this is how I express it, and then I'll let you go because I know you got a lot going on, obviously. But I say it's a continuum. On one side is I'm being a doormat. And I just let people walk. Doormat doesn't always translate into different cultures, but I'm being a doormat and I'm just letting people walk all over me. And over here, I'm being a narcissist. And I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to walk all over everybody. And in the middle is humility. It's just me. And, you know, there's, you know, I keep saying I'm going to make like a visual in this, but I haven't. Like there's gradations. Humility is just in the middle. It's like being humble. It's okay to say I'm good at something.
It's fine.
It's okay to say I don't know.
Oh, I love saying I don't know. Because that
Mhm.
means, to your point, it brings it back to humility. Like, for example, if I'm in a meeting and someone asks me a question, I'm okay to say I don't know.
Mhm.
But no, I will get the answer for you eventually, just not today. But I'll find out. And
we'll
that's
get
okay.
back.
Like, I don't have listen, nobody in this world is gonna know everything in life. And you don't have to make an excuse to not know. Just fess up to it. I
Mhm.
respect it even more than coming up with an excuse in a roundabout way where you've kind of said it, but you haven't really said it explicitly, but you're just making an excuse. I respect you more when you say, I don't know, period.
Mhm. 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 Absolutely. Elizabeth, thank you for your compliment. Always. So Reggie, we should close it out, and I will end the stream. Well, you know how that I'm on Restream. I don't know. Do you use StreamYard?
StreamYard, yeah.
So we'll go back into the green room for just a second. How can people find you and
Yeah, so
contact
you guys
you?
could all connect with me on LinkedIn. So Reggie Waterman, and then on Instagram as well, Reggie.Waterman. Simple as that.
Oh, nice. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me. Us.
I love that quote.
Intelligence.
What? Osama's dropping bombs all the time.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing that, Elizabeth. Intelligence is knowing you don't know. Stupidity is thinking you know everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yep.
And then humility's in the middle. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. Mhm. Okay, thank you everyone for writing in the comments, and I'm going to let you go. Have a great day. Tell everyone about Reggie and this stories of serendipity and synchronicity, and I will see you next week, same time, same place.
And
Okay,
watch
bye.
the movie Serendipity as well. Watch it if you haven't watched it. It's an old movie, but it's a good one.
Oh, I love Serendipity, that movie. Oh my gosh. And then I took my kids to New York when it turned 2001 to 2002. And we sought out that place to go have the cold hot chocolate or the hot cold chocolate or something. Yeah, it's so awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gents, talk to you later. Thank you. Thank you. Very inspiring. See you later. Bye.